So glad my lower third wasn't showing.
Everyone. Hi, everyone. We are.
That's true for life, Russ. I'm glad my lower third was not showing.
Yeah, there we go. Really good. Really good. Yeah, sorry for the delay today a little bit. My daughter's birthday today, so it's running out as she's doing some errands that I had to do to prepare for this evening. So
nice.
Yeah, and the weather's sucky here, so
what is she, like 30, right?
Yes, right. I'm not old. No, she's my oldest daughter, and she's 15 today.
Oh.
Which is crazy in and of itself. So hey,
I think we've fulfilled our quota in the Northeast of cold, rainy weather. It's enough. You know, it's
60 by me. It's raining, yes, but it's starting at night now.
Speak for yourself. I'm talking about.
You live in a cave. Come on.
What do you mean I live in a cave? Buffalo is not a cave.
It's not technically a cave, but it is kind of, cave-like.
Let me ask you this, Mike. During the summertime, is there a vacation spot in Buffalo? The answer is no.
There's a vacation spot in Buffalo all the time. There's one of the biggest vacation spots in the world in Buffalo.
Niagara Falls.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but Buffalo, but
you don't go there for good weather.
No. See, you just drove me absolutely insane because on like the football broadcasts and like any national event that comes to Buffalo, they will pan to a picture of the friggin' falls. Niagara Falls is 30 miles away from here. It's not part of Buffalo. It's part of Western New York. It's not part of Buffalo. All they do is show Niagara Falls and those friggin' chicken wings at the Anchor Bar that suck, and that's it.
Sun's coming out here. It's going to be 69. Maybe you should move from Buffalo. Just saying.
Anyway.
All right. Let's get going here. Ready? All right. Hello, Hockey World. It's Thursday, May 25th, 2017.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cullen from Sportsology.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And today, we're going to have a team going after tonight. We're going to be down to one. And we'll be down to one in the East, two in the NHL. And I really got into a debate I want to talk to you guys about a little bit before we get into everything last night about who people want to see in this final. Like, obviously this is taking out the fans of the three teams that are still involved, because I'm sure Predators fans have their opinion who they'd like to see, and I'm sure and then Senators fans and Penguins fans. But he believed that people would want to see Ottawa because Ottawa is a team that has never won a cup before, and you have two interesting people are sick of Crosby. Now, granted, this is a little bit skewed because this is a person who lives in the Philadelphia area, so they don't like Pittsburgh. So
I would say that
for sure.
I would say that the media, that the league, that most fans would want to see Pittsburgh because it's back, the opportunity for back-to-back, the non-Canadian factor. I mean, for the NHL, I mean, they will lose out big time in terms of ratings if it's Ottawa because they're not going to get any ratings out of a Canadian market. Whereas Pittsburgh, you have Sidney Crosby, you have Malkin, you have the incumbent champ. I think that's part of the what's going on in the NBA. It's like Golden State, Cleveland. People want to see that meeting again because that's the last two champions, and this would be the rubber match.
Right.
And here it's Pittsburgh going for the first back-to-back since the Red Wings in over 20 years. So yeah,
I have this figured out.
Okay.
What it is if you're an NHL hater, then you want Ottawa, Nashville, so you could talk about how there won't be any ratings, and you could say, ha ha ha, look at these two teams, and there's that person. If you're a Gary Bettman hater, you want Ottawa, Nashville. If you're a fan of another team, your teams are out of it for that same reason, so you could laugh at Gary Bettman because I've seen a lot of posts for that. If you're a hockey fan, you're okay with either one. I think either one would make for an interesting Stanley Cup. I mean, again, everybody points to Tampa, Calgary, like, oh my God, it was a ratings disaster or whatever. Maybe, but if you covered that cup or watched that cup, it was fantastic. And there were so many great moments.
You're so right. And I think a lot of people thought Carolina Edmonton would be a horrible snooze as well.
And it was a great cup to cover and to watch.
maybe the best. I mean, still the first cup I covered, but still maybe the best series I've ever covered. Like that Edmonton Carolina series had everything to it. So yeah, that was crazy.
Well,
So that's why I always say there's always different accounts, but a lot of people have agendas. They do.
Well, the thing that would scare me most about an Ottawa-Nashville matchup is it would resemble Bobby Fischer versus Gary Kasparov. It would be 1-3-1 versus 1-3-1. It would be very
That's chess talk for the nerds out there that know chess.
Right. It'd be very defensively oriented, very like who's going to make the first move type of thing. And I think
who is the attack team and who's both teams are counterattack teams usually. Who is the attack team? Who's the counterattack team in an Ottawa Nashville series? I thought about this a lot.
That's a problem.
That's the problem. It is going to be like a chess match. Here's one thing I'll divulge and not really rip on Mike for the Bobby Fischer thing. In my neighborhood, it was huge with Bobby Fischer. We all had the book. We all had chess sets. We all wanted to learn how to win in 5 moves. We all did it on some dope who didn't have the book in our neighborhood so we could feel good about ourselves. But as far as hockey goes, that's a tough one. I don't know who the aggressor would be.
The roles will be firmly established if it's Pittsburgh-Nashville. Pittsburgh will be the attacking team, and Nashville will be with the more passive counterattack team. Whereas if it's Ottawa and Nashville, it's going to be like that Philadelphia-Tampa game where Philly is sitting back waiting, and that was Laviolette sitting back waiting for Guy Boucher to make a move, and it's like that's.
I think the Nashville defenders would be the aggressors, so I'm going to say it's going to be Nashville because at least Laviolette activates his defensemen and lets them.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Laviolette doesn't love being the counterattack team. That's not his game really. I mean, he's doing it because that's what he has to play with.
Right.
But he'd rather. I think Boucher. I get the sense Guy Boucher does love being the counterattack team. So
if Laviolette had Ryan Johansson, I think he would be more anxious to be the attacking team. But he's not going to have him. Now there are some reports that Mike Fisher could be back for game 1, but even if he's not completely healthy.
Wait, to play or to sing the anthem?
No, to play. Okay. He lets his better half do the anthem singing.
Am I wrong did I hear wrong that Mike Fisher has no points in the playoffs?
I believe that's right.
Yeah, I believe that's true.
Which is pretty crazy. I mean, it really is.
It's not that crazy. His offense has tailed off tremendously the last couple of years.
But his offense in the regular season. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike.
His offense in the regular season, I thought, was pretty good. It's just in the playoffs.
What's his playoff results been the last couple of years?
I'll check.
I thought he had a good playoff last year, if I remember right. Like he was pretty strong for Nashville.
I don't think he did.
I know he at least scored like one big game-winning overtime goal that I can remember. But he hasn't had anything this year. So
last year during the regular season he had 23 points, 13 goals, 10 assists. In 14 games, he had 5 goals in the playoffs last year. This year, he had his best offensive year in 4 seasons. He had 18 goals, 24 assists. This year in the playoffs, 14 games, 0-0-0.
That's incredible.
So really, though, in 2 years, the production's not great either way. But it's last year, at least he was scoring goals.
Right. I mean, just having no points is incredible. I mean, it's like that's really that's hard to do in a way because it's just you're on.
When you get the amount of ice time he does.
Yeah, and people see him as a big player, and I do think, and I'm not trying to rip Mike Fisher. I think he's one of the greatest people in the game. I love the guy, but I think that it is so. But sitting here saying he's coming back for game 1, that's a big deal. I don't know that it's a big deal. Like it's like the guys they brought up.
You might be better off having Pontus Aberg in there.
That's honestly, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Being a shutdown center, which he is, the most remarkable stat is no penalty minutes in 14 games.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great stat.
And also his face-off percentage is not good. And that is what he does usually bring to the Predators is he's the best face-off guy they've got, and he's not. That hasn't been very good either. I mean, the interesting thing is though, if he, last year there's no Ryan Johansson on. Well, yes, there is. I'm sorry. Yes, there is. No, I'm thinking. I mean, I wonder how it'll be without Ryan Johansson if Fischer, would start to pick up some points. Like if he would start to play some.
Well, he'll probably be put in more offensive roles because Russ, who's the number 1 offensive center right now? I mean, that's the problem.
Probably Colin Wilson.
Yeah.
The biggest thing about Fischer being in this series is twofold. One, he is the only guy on the Predators who's been to a Stanley Cup before. So that does matter because
it does matter.
It really helps to have a guy kind of navigate.
Although he can whisper in everybody's ear in the locker room, it's not like he's dead.
Yeah, I'm sure he will be. But there is it's a very different, very distracting series to play in. Players always tell me they really feel, for so many reasons. I mean, the main reason is, and teams never have figured out a way to do this, is the amount of tickets you're asked for.
Right.
The players are constantly getting, every friend they have, texting, how can you get me a ticket to this, can you get me a ticket to that? And there are some teams, that are starting to, and teams need to take, what teams need to do? Here's a message to teams out there watching. Okay. I have a friend, okay, who's part of the Taylor Swift band, right? My daughter loves Taylor Swift. I did the stupid thing like that everybody does. Hey, Taylor Swift's coming to town. Can you get me tickets to see Taylor Swift? It's sold out. Bang, bang, bang. And he's like, sure. But you got to pay for him because that's the rule. I'm like, that's fine, but it's sold out. Can you get me, I'll definitely pay for him. I said that up front. And he said, well, here's the person you talk to. And they have a person, like a specific person for the band that takes care of all of this. And you email that person. She sends you back a form, like a total form. You fill out the form with everything. Who do you know in the band? How many tickets do you need? How does it work? When you pick them up. And it's really, it takes the pressure off of the band people completely. Yeah. If someone says
here's
that,
what I would do. I think that's a good idea. I would do a very simple thing. You get the one person in your family who contacts everybody, whether that's your mother or your aunt or somebody, right? And you tell them, find out and you give them a date. Who wants to come to the first game in Nashville? I will buy a ticket for everybody, and those are the only tickets I am granting. And that's it. And if you don't answer me by that day, that's it. One game, let me know. And this is what you have to do. You have to set the parameters.
It's hard though, man, because hockey players are nice people. They're nice guys. They want to do it.
Tough.
And they only have a limited amount anyway. So it's not like hockey players have a ton of.
You know how many people ask me for free books? Come on, it's the same thing.
I have that person in my family, and I just tell them to tell everybody no.
I mean, Russ, how many people ask you for Flyers tickets or something like that?
No, Flyers tickets not as much, but free books all the time.
I get asked for Flyers tickets all the time. And I'm like, I don't have any connections, guys. Like, I'm not like, somebody who's got like.
I know. I try and tell people that too.
I'm not giving like 10. I'm not giving like 10 tickets here. That I'm not a player. I don't have any. Like, it's funny. They think because you're in the media or whatever.
Well, here's the one encouraging thing for Nashville, because Colin Wilson had a big playoff last year. He scored 13 points in 14 games. This year, because Johansson was around for most of the. I
think that saved his job. I think he was on the block before that.
No question.
Johansson was around for most of the first 2 rounds, and he got the lion's share of the offensive chances. But if Wilson is going to be the go-to guy offensively up the middle, I mean, first of all, that's a matchup disaster against Pittsburgh. If Fisher comes back, then maybe he can line up against either Crosby or Malkin, depending on whether his speed is affected by the injury that he has. But if Wilson can catch that fire from last year, they have at least one guy who might be able to score up the middle. But then it's going to be it's going to be Aberg, it's going to be Sissons, it's going to be whoever they plug in up the middle that's going to have to jump up and provide some other offense.
Hey, maybe they could sign Carey Wilson. He was really good at faceoffs too, and then you get at least have 2 guys.
Ron Wilson
can play again. There's plenty of people. No, I what's funny is I think you'll see Fisher. If Fisher's in, you'll see Fisher against Crosby. Straight up, that'll be the matchup that he's got when they can get that going. But who they're going to match up against Malkin becomes more interesting to me, because that's where the whole thing gets really kind of
if that happens.
Yeah, I know, if you run into that situation, right? If Pittsburgh gets there, so I would not be shocked at all from watching this to see Laviolette give McLeod some shifts against Malkin. I can see that completely, because he's been using McLeod in a defensive role, and there have been times when McLeod, who's obviously a physical player, he could drive Malkin crazy. That could be interesting. It'd be fun. But Malkin does not love playing against tough.
Well, if Cody McLeod's in the lineup, I think that the percentage of a chance of Tom Sestito being in the lineup for Pittsburgh goes up.
Here's the thing, though. All right, so if we talk about like the game tonight, I'm already seeing the stat that Pittsburgh's 0-7 in Game 7s, right, in this era, and I was at one of them. I was at the Ranger one where it took a monumental effort to beat Pittsburgh in that game I mean, even Mike Lang. I hung around long enough to talk. Huh?
Is this home game sevens? Because didn't they just win a game?
Home game sevens. Yes, home game sevens.
Right. All right. Okay.
They're 0-7, and Ottawa's 5-0 or something. So, but here's the thing. But again, these are over spans of years. But in that game, the Ranger game against Pittsburgh, I hung around long enough that Mike Lang came out. We were talking to him about it. He put it in really great perspective. He was like, look, Henrik Lundqvist won this game. He came into this building, and he won this game. I've never seen anything like it. And really, that's what it's going to take for Ottawa to win this game. Like, Craig Anderson is going to have to walk into that building, and he is going to have to shut down the Penguins with that defense. That is the only way they walk away winning this game.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think the score of an Ottawa win tonight will be 2-1 or 1-0.
Yeah.
If it's 3-2, 4-3, Pittsburgh's winning. They're
I don't think anybody would be shocked if it's 5-0 Pittsburgh, and I don't think anybody would be shocked if Pittsburgh loses 2-1.
Yeah.
It's game 7. Like, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. It's a great spot. It's so much fun to watch. And also, my big thing to watch tonight is how tired is Anderson. Is Anderson?
He looked like he was tiring last game. I messaged you that. And there's no question he was tiring.
He looked even when they won. His reaction to them winning was like very subdued. And then the interview afterwards, when they were talking to him, he's first of all, the guy looks like he weighs like 85 pounds, right? Like he's crazy thin, and if ever there was a guy whose pads make him way bigger than he is, it's Anderson. It's Anderson. It's just like it's crazy.
And I think we also forget he's an American goalie because he's been passed over so many times for so many tournaments.
I know. I think that, and it's the truth. He has always been passed over, and there's a lot of people who thought he should have gotten some consideration at the last Olympics. Because he was playing pretty well at the time.
He was.
I mean, I heard a great crazy stat that the last time a goalie saved 45 shots in regulation and won a game, like he did in Game 6, was also Craig Anderson like 5 years ago in a game. So it was the same. That was the last time in regulation, the 45 or more shots were stopped by a goalie and they won. So yeah, he's got the ability. The more shots he does, he's always been a goalie who feeds on shots. Like he's a better goalie when he's getting a lot of shots on him. He's not when he gets in trouble is when he doesn't get a ton of shots. But there's no real worry against Pittsburgh. That's why I think it'll be more interesting when we see what if Ottawa was to get there, what we would see out of an Ottawa-Nashville series and how that would play out.
In this game, are you more worried about stars or are you more worried about those lesser players that all of a sudden kill you with a goal? Like, for me,
Pajot, guys like that.
Pajot, Brian Rust, those kinds of guys. Or I got to tell you, I'm still I tweeted something out the other day. Colin Wilson gets to play in his first playoff game for the Ottawa Senators. Great college player, as we all know. Colin White. And Pierre Maguire had to point out what college he was from. Instead, maybe he should have pointed out the reason they're playing this guy is that he's a great career clutch goal scorer, has done it in big games on big stages, and he didn't do it in that game, but he's got one game in now. I would be watching Colin White. Like, that's a guy that could sting you out of nowhere, with a goal. And we're all going to be watching the main guys for both teams.
Yeah.
But it probably won't be that guy that scores the game winner.
Probably won't. It'll probably be an ugly goal, and or it'll be like like Mike Hoffman's shot was unbelievable. Like, can we just throw that out there? That was about as good a slap shot as you will ever see in the NHL.
Did Colin White go to Shattuck St. Mary's, Russ?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't think so.
No, I'm just saying that's what Pierre says about
Shattuck. Yeah. I got that reference.
Thank you.
Yes, this is why it was so great when Bobby Ryan threw. Where am I from, Pierre? Where am I from? Yeah. So no,
there's a hashtag, by the way, for Bobby Ryan. It's something like something CH for Cherry Hill. It's on Twitter now. Like, there's an actual hashtag for Bobby Ryan.
Bobby Ryan isn't on Twitter anymore. He took himself off of Twitter.
No, he's not, but the hashtag exists.
I'm sure he checks it out. I'm sure he has a secret Twitter account somewhere, but he's definitely, I don't know what it is, but he's I'm really happy for him. I mean, he's definitely come into his own in this round. And people forget the interesting thing about this is that Bobby Ryan was picked right after Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, remember? Here's the hashtag. Hashtag CHNBR. So Cherry Hill North, Bobby Ryan.
Really?
Yes.
Cherry Hill North, Bobby Ryan. All right, check it out. We'll check that out on
That's
Twitter.
the hashtag, and it's, I don't know if it'll ever be trending, but I guess it could be tonight. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean he's been incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. And it's just like, so who do you guys want to see? Like that's that. So I sit there now. You mentioned who you thought.
Me as a member of the media, you're asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you, a member of the media.
Okay, so Russ Cohen, media guy, wants Pittsburgh because it's a 5-hour drive. That's an easy one.
Right,
And
that's
I could do
true.
more. I could get there. I'd go straight down the turnpike. I could fall asleep in my car and still get there. Russ Cohen, the fan, is okay with either one because I've been to Ottawa. I love the city. I have friends there. I'm okay with either matchup. I really am.
Is there anything great about and this is the how about you, Mike? I think you won Pittsburgh, right? Yeah, that's pretty safe to say.
Mike Agello, the media guy, if anybody had a free Stanley Cup ticket, would like to go. Would it's a 3.5 to 4 hour drive to Pittsburgh, so I would prefer that.
It's about that, isn't it? About that to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh and Ottawa is not that much different, right? Isn't Ottawa pretty?
No, Ottawa's like
far.
From here. It's going around Lake Ontario, past through Kingston. It's
I don't know Canada. I don't
it's
know
like
that.
7 or 8 hours.
Okay. You're further from Ottawa than we are. That's pretty crazy. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Mike Agello, the fan, is firmly in the Pittsburgh court, and that's because anybody who is liked the blue and white hates the Senators for obvious reasons.
Is there
I'm going to say something. I'm sorry. I'm going to say something unpopular because we have so many Pittsburgh haters that watch the show, and there's so many Crosby haters. But I have to tell you, the best thing for the NHL would either be a Nashville win or a Pittsburgh win. But a Pittsburgh win would give the dynasty feel to the league, which the NBA feeds off of. And the NHL has not had a chance to feed off of that in, like you said, over 20 years. And that's a big deal when you want to get the ancillary press to talk about you.
And it would sort of diffuse the belief that it's impossible in the cap era to not have a team that can be a dynasty that can win 2 cups in a row, because I mean Chicago has won 3, LA has won a few, but
you could argue that we've had nothing but dynasties recently.
But it's never been in consecutive years,
but
because
but we have had very few teams winning the Stanley Cup.
But then nobody counts that. I'm telling you, in the outside world, people don't count that as a dynasty. Here's the funny thing. I get so much ridiculous stuff that comes across my screen for CNN breaking news. If the Ottawa Senators win the Stanley Cup, I will not get that. If Pittsburgh were to win their second Stanley Cup, we would get that. They would actually post that.
To me, this team is no connection at all, right, to the team that won the Stanley Cup the first time Sidney Crosby won the Stanley Cup. Like, this is so far away from that, it doesn't play into it.
No.
Well,
but back-to-back years is something.
There are a few players there's Letang and Fleury and Malkin, but that you can say that about the Chicago teams. 3 teams within the span of 5-6 years,
and they were together. I mean, the Pittsburgh win was.
But they were 3 different teams, is what I'm saying. I mean, they had to.
They were more connected teams, I thought, than this team and this team and last year's team and the original Pittsburgh team that won.
Well, the core group of the Blackhawks were the same, but they had to change the support players every time because they couldn't afford to keep them.
Yeah, no, they definitely did a great job with that too. But yeah, I mean, with the 2 Kings teams that won, they were very much connected together. I mean, there was a year. I mean, so but I just feel like this Pittsburgh team. There was that initial Pittsburgh team that had that had Hossa on it. That was the Hossa Pittsburgh team that went to the Stanley Cup Finals twice, right? And got against Detroit 1-1, lost 1.
Well, he lost both times. He was on the Pittsburgh team in 2008 that lost, then went to Detroit and lost in 2009.
Right, that's right. Yes, he's been a lot of time at the Stanley Cup Finals. Well, here's what the fans want to see, because I put this out on HockeyBuzz as a question to people, and so far 1,300 people have responded, and 56.95% want to see the Ottawa Senators against the Predators.
Yeah,
okay.
I was kind of surprised by this. I really was.
You have a heavy Flyers fan base, and they don't want to see Pittsburgh in anything.
Heavy Flyers and heavy Canadian, but heavy Canadian too. And to me, the heavy Canadian part of it, that brings me to the next question. Is Ottawa, like, the one thing that when I covered the Ottawa Anaheim series, I wrote an article about the fact that Canada wasn't behind Ottawa. Like that, there was no sense that where they were behind Edmonton 100%. Now, but this Ottawa team is a little different. I mean, this Ottawa team there's a much This is a much more of an underdog. That Ottawa team was very good for a long time, and they got there. This Ottawa team has much more of an underdog feel to them.
Yeah,
I think more Canadians will be it for this. I think more Canadians kind of.
And there's the the heart-rending story, the Craig Anderson story, the Clark MacArthur story, but no, I don't think Canada is. I mean, to the disappointment of Justin Trudeau, not everybody in Canada is getting behind the Ottawa Senators. Not even everybody in Ottawa is getting behind the Ottawa Senators. If you base it on attendance,
in Canada, I've often found Canada to be Crosvanada. Like this is like This is Canada loves Sidney Crosby, and they do follow him. They are very much in his corner. Like he's their guy. He's their captain, and they will support him. So when their teams are out, Crosby is a guy that they stick with.
No, I think that's fair. I do.
Yeah, it's always been the case. So so that's why I was a little bit surprised by this number. I mean, we do have a big group of Flyers fans, but they're really not that active right now on HockeyBuzz because the Flyers aren't really that active, right? So you're looking at fans now more along the lines of a lot of the diehard people like on HockeyBuzz. These are people who are, when I look at the statistics, a lot of Canadians who are expansion draft people, people who are really like worried. That's what you have right now. So
and people who live in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Because they have to stay and watch TV.
Right, and Buffalo, and a lot of Buffalo people, So that's what it comes down to, right?
All right, so here's the biggest. Can we switch to the biggest story in hockey right now? And it's the biggest.
Go ahead.
This is bigger than tonight's game temporarily, and that is the KHL. There are teams that are leaving. There are teams that owe players. The league owes players $17 million. Now, to me, that sounds a little shocking, but what's more shocking is not that they're owed $17.7 million, is that $17.7 million is over 1 billion rubles. That's a little shocking to me.
Yeah, the ruble's like the peso right now.
Yeah.
Billion rubles.
Rubles.
I know. I mean, I guess that 1 ruble coin that my dad got me when I was a kid really is not worth all that much.
No.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was going to say, we saw a shrinking of the KHL over the last couple of years. It seemed to be like the teams that were being sort of removed were the teams that were outside the old Soviet Union. I mean, there was a team in Ukraine that was shut down because of the war that was going on. There was a team in, I think, Slovakia. There was a team in the Czech Republic. Now they've expanded to like Jokerit in Finland. But the two teams that they're shutting down right now, one is inside Russia, one is Zagreb, which is outside of Russia. But according to the reports, they're gonna go down by 3 more teams in the near future. So this is the reason why there's going to be an exodus of KHL players, because these teams are drying up.
And can you explain why Anton Lander just jumped there? Like, I don't understand that. Because
Anton Lander is not an NHL defenseman, or not an NHL player. I'm sorry, an NHL forward. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, here's the thing: if I see that they owe players $17.7 million, what's the percentage that they owe the imports? It's got to be like 65-70%, because those are the guys they stop paying first. Because you have no recourse when you go over there as an American or a Swede or a Finn. You have no recourse if they decide to not pay you. And so
I would bet that it hasn't gotten any better than it was. Wasn't it John Graham, the goalie, that told the story about him getting paid in American dollars in a brown paper bag?
No, I don't know if it was John Graham, but I was another goalie that told me that story. That was Felix Potvin, who told me that that was the concept of there. That I heard the story for Felix Potvin that brown paper bag. He's still, I believe, owed money from the lockout year that he was there. I think that it's like, and the problem with that, and I know a couple other players who probably wouldn't want, maybe Felix doesn't even want his name out there about this, but I'm just saying the problem with all that would be, I remember talking to people and them saying, who do you go to get this? Like when you're owed money from Russia that they're not paying, what's the process? You like call up the Russian collection agency or something like that.
No, I'll tell you what you do. You go get that paper boy. You go get that paper boy who's after John Cusack for that $2, and you ride after him for the rest of eternity.
Yeah, I mean,
you're better off dead.
The KHL is a paper bag league at times. Like, and it's a wonderful league. People of the KHL are the nicest people in the world. I'm going to throw that out right now because I love them.
But here's the thing.
but they do serve money, put money, they do American money in paper bags. Read King of Russia, the Dave King book, and written by our friend Eric Tahashik, and also they do serve McDonald's as a pregame meal, like in the KHL.
That's ridiculous. That's funny.
Which
McNuggets are great. They're very
yeah. You know, I mean, have you ever tried not the Big Mac, but the thing that's bigger than the Big Mac now that they have? That's called the
no, I don't
even. Grand Mac. The Grand Mac.
The Grand Mac. Yeah. How do I know that name? I've never had one. I mean,
I tried one just because I had to try it. It was disgusting.
It is. Big Macs are disgusting. Big Macs are amazing in your head. This is the thing about Big Macs in general. Like in my head, I'm like, oh man, that sounds awesome. I want a Big Mac. I take one bite of the Big Mac and I'm like, oh, this is terrible.
Here's the thing for me. I haven't had a Big Mac in probably 40 years, right?
Yeah.
But in my head, I could tell you what the Big Mac was. What was good about it was the sauce. What was bad about it was the burgers were smaller and that extra layer of bread was totally unnecessary.
They gave you the extra layer of bread because they weren't giving you big hamburgers. But the Grand Mac is basically the size of a Burger King double Whopper with two quarter-pounder type burgers. It was just ridiculously massive.
And it's true, isn't it? I mean, you think about the sauce, and you're like, and of course in your head, you remember that you could get it free for a while if you said 2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, seed bun. That when we were kids, that was like a thing that we all know, which is incredible marketing. That that almost any American can say that is phenomenal when you think about it. But I remember I got one the other day, or it was like a year ago. But this happens like maybe every 3 years. I got like, oh, I got to get a Big Mac, you know, like
All right, but here's the thing. So here's something where I have to laugh at the KHL, and I hope that our video transmission continues. But this is what's funny. So in 2018, 2019, this is what's going to determine what's going to cut the 3 other teams. They will have a statistical rating system measuring teams' on-ice ability, their finances, and crowd appeal, and that will be used to determine, now this is the wording, who quits the league.
They're relegating him. They're relegating him to non-existent.
Who quits the league? You're going to be kicking somebody out. They don't
take
quit.
Your team and quit now, you will.
Right. That's a forced quit.
Russ, they're relegating them.
No one involved with Russia has ever been forced to retire before. I mean, no one involved in any Russian scandals has ever been forced to retire before. I can't imagine.
Is this going to be like Star Search? Are people going to have those machines at home and they're going to constantly be pressing the buttons during a game at those games?
Was that press release written by Alexander Solzhenitsyn?
I mean,
oh my gosh! Wow. Okay, let me go. Let's move past this thing. It's a great story, though. I agree with you. I saw it today. I was going to talk about it for sure. It's one of it is probably the big story today,
and it will affect the NHL probably in a positive way,
in a big way, because it doesn't make a league any more attractive when it's contracting. You know, like when that league is getting smaller.
When players don't get paid, they know it.
Oh yeah, believe me, they know it. Oh yeah, no question about it. I mean, they might be making $50,000 a game, but if you miss one of those, you're. I mean, they're very, very aware of it. There are some really funny PK Subban things that I want to bring up today.
Oh.
Like, a couple of them are really interesting. There's one by our buddy at Puck Daddy who's never written a bad story about Nashville in his life. He says, I still have no idea why I'm not a Montreal Canadian, and quite frankly, I really don't care. That's a good.
Well, that quote is from an upcoming ESPN E60 on Subban, and I'm very curious to see this because God knows ESPN has never done anything wrong regarding the NHL.
It's the sarcastic show today, I must say.
But it's still up to PK Subban whatever he gave them material-wise. It is.
And apparently they've been following him for 2 years.
But this is the definition. If I was to define the definition of hockey clickbait, it would be the quote, I still have no idea why I'm not a Montreal Canadian, and quite frankly,
that's hockey clickbait.
Yeah. This is so incredible hockey. This is hockey clickbait. This is like if you get a quote like this, you're like, kids, we're going to dinner, This is that kind of quote. But the other thing was another thing with Subban too. Oh, this is more of just a great statistic, and it's my great stat for the day. Subban, who I've been not ripping on, but just saying it doesn't seem to be. I don't know. It's different. Like I watched the Predators since they've been in the league, and Shea Weber was always my guy, so I always thought he was. And I just didn't think Subban was doing as good a job as Shea Weber. But here, this stat proves me wrong. So it says Subban, was charged with shutting down 3 players so far in the playoffs. That would be Taves, Tarasenko, and Getzlaf. Basically, they were the 3 guys he was been in 3 series, and those players combined for 3 goals in 16 games.
Yeah, but see
that's impressive. I mean, that's
yes, but okay, but that's really
a loaded stat. It is.
Yeah, it's misleading.
I mean, at some point you have to give it up for that a little bit.
They're 5-man units. It's not him one-on-one with those guys.
For sure. But he's out there whenever those guys are out there, and when he can be. They have that.
No, but it's different than the NBA. Like if I'm a guard and I'm covering another guard in the NBA, and I've got 35 points and he's got 10. I won that battle. It's clear. It's clear cut. It's not as clear cut this way. It's not.
Yeah. I can see
I'm not
that.
saying he's not doing a great job. I love PK Subban, but I'm just saying it's not as easy as that. Right. That's all.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I'm not. I thought it was kind of interesting. That's why I brought it up. But sorry. Anyway.
It was interesting. No. Listen, it was interesting.
So what is the Mike, I was looking at the rundown of the show. What is the women are not attractive?
No.
Sorry, different. Okay, sorry.
James.
Okay.
What the hell?
Let's go
That's
to
angry, Mike.
Let's go to extension. Let's talk about Columbus, okay? All right. Sorry, I thought that was a category. It's connected to the line after it. I understand.
Imagine if that was a category on Jeopardy. Wow.
I'm like, Mike. Man, I know things are tough.
What the heck? It's a chat room for a reason. It means it's stuff that's not supposed to be said on the show.
Okay, usually, believe me, if I said the stuff that's in there, we would not be on the air anymore. So yeah, I'm just bringing this one up. Okay, so all right, the Blue Jackets are the team today.
Yes,
they are.
Well, okay. Today.
And they're a bunch of handsome men.
They are a bunch of handsome men. The Columbus Blue Jackets are, and they do have their share of guaranteed contracts. They've got 3 of them.
Well, here's the dilemma for Columbus. They're likely to go 7-3-1. Now they have first of all, they have a very good young goaltender in Korpisalo who will be exposed. I would not be surprised if he's one of the 4 or 5 goalies that McPhee takes, because I think he's an NHL starter. Now defensively, they probably protect Seth Jones. Obviously, protect Seth Jones. They
can you scroll up a little, please?
Yeah, they protect probably David Savard and Ryan Murray and leave Jack Johnson with 1 year left in his contract exposed. But at forward is where they're gonna lose a good young player, Russ. I mean, they have 3 no-move clauses: Dubinsky, Foligno, Hartnell. If they can't get Hartnell to waive the no-move clause and they have to protect him, either they buy him out of the final 2 years of his contract.
No, they won't buy him out.
Right, so they keep him. So you protect the 3 no moves: Brandon Saad, Cam Atkinson, who had a career year, Boone Jenner, and probably Wenberg. You're leaving a Josh Anderson. You're leaving a William Karlsson, a Matt Calvert. Those guys will be exposed. So they're going to lose somebody who's decent, either the goaltender or one of the forwards.
All right, so I'm going to tell you something. Based on the worth of defensemen, I'm still going 8 skaters here, and I'm protecting Jack Johnson because I don't have enough depth on defense if I want to be a contending team like the Columbus Blue Jackets want to be a contending team. They really don't. They don't have anybody that's really going to come up and change the world for them next year defensively. Are they going to go heavy in the free agent market for defense? Probably not. And so if I lose Josh Anderson or I lose Matt Calvert, or I lose, so be it. I'm fine with that.
If you go 8 skaters, you lose Cam Atkinson. You're either protecting Saad or Cam Atkinson. That's why I say there's no way they're going.
Well, I'm going to leave Brandon Saad out there because I don't think they're going to want his $6 million salary. That's what I'm going to do.
He's young, though, Russ. I mean, he's young.
You're
There's no way they're going to expose. There's no way they expose Brandon Saad.
I said I know that. This is if I ran the team. This is what I would do.
Yeah, I think you would be fired if you did that. I honestly think that
I don't
Brandon
think so
Saad,
because
Brandon Saad would get picked up immediately by them.
I don't know about that.
No, they would. I mean, there are players, and I'm working on a story about this. There are players out there that will be left unprotected that have big contracts and people just don't. Like Andrew Ladd's a good example. Like, there's no way they'll protect Andrew Ladd.
$6 million for Brandon Saad is a lot of money, Eck.
He's young.
It doesn't matter that he's young. He's already
24 years old.
But he's priced himself out.
That's young. 24 years old.
How many year deal is that?
He's got another 4 years.
Oh,
I don't think they're going to touch that deal. I really don't.
No, I think that Vegas would claim him. He'd be the claim guy if he's exposed.
I would rather them claim Brandon Saad than Cam Atkinson. That's, to me, right now, worth on the team.
But okay, would you rather? Okay, put it this way: would you rather lose Brandon Saad or Jack Johnson? If it's me, I'd rather lose Jack Johnson.
But I can't afford to lose Jack Johnson. That's the problem.
But they have. I mean, they can go out and get defensemen in trades. They have a lot of.
Brandon Saad did in the playoffs before you anoint him. He had 3 points and he was a -5.
Okay, yeah, they won one game.
Okay, but I'm just saying. I mean, Cam Atkinson for his $3.5 million.
I'm not exposing Cam Atkinson.
Actually worth more. He's actually worth more to the team than Brandon Saad because his cost ratio per goal and points is a lot better.
Well, Russ, you see, that point might be moot because if you only cover 4, if you go 8 skaters and you only protect 4 forwards. I mean, is the 4th forward Wenberg, or is it Atkinson, or is it Saad? Because whoever you don't protect is probably going to be the one that Vegas claims. That's why I'm saying they'll probably go 7-3-1 and trade Jack Johnson in the final year of his contract.
Atkinson had 35 goals. He's 27. He had 3 points in the playoffs also, but he had 2 goals. He is better right now today than Brandon Saad, and he's a better bargain. I would rather.
He may be. I'm just saying.
I'd rather lose the money on Brandon Saad. I'd rather lose that contract.
If I'm Jarmo Kekalainen, I don't want to lose either one of them. So
well, of course not. But here's the thing. So while you guys are hard and fast on Jack Johnson, well, just expose him and let him get taken. Who are you putting in his place?
What, Gabriel Carlson?
He's not ready. I mean, he looked okay last year, but he's not ready to take Jack Johnson's role.
No, but you go out and you get a defenseman.
Who are you going to get? That's what I'm saying. I mean, this is like so much easier to say. But if you're going to say Gabriel Carlson, then Gabriel Carlson better be the guy. And I think he's going to be a terrific defenseman, but he's 19. Do I know that he's ready? I don't. So then all of a sudden, who are you getting to replace Jack Johnson? It sounds easy, but it's really not.
It's really not at all.
It's not, but the thing is that you're probably going to lose Jack Johnson after next season anyway, because after next season he's a UFA.
Or he signed a cheaper deal with them because they were maybe the greatest organization to a player that I've ever seen with the kind of problems he was going through, and he'll appreciate that. It's a possibility.
Yes, it is. But I'm saying, I'm just saying in the sense of asset management, the risk of losing, the cost of losing Jack Johnson for 1 year is much less than losing an Atkinson or a Saad or a Wenberg in the expansion draft.
It's replacement value. Here's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, to me, honestly, I think that I mean, I don't know this for a fact, and I've put in some calls to see if I can find out anything about this 8 skaters, 1 goalie, because I looked at this team and I thought this was a team. And also, I know that this is a team that really cherishes their defensemen. They really do. They really feel that.
Well, they have to. They're
not. That's what makes them special. They feel like they've got one of the best young defenses in the league.
And I get that, but I'm saying. I mean, I think that the fact that mitigates that act is the fact that Johnson only has a year left, and maybe that prevents Vegas from claiming him unless they want him as an asset that they can flip at the deadline. But I'm just saying, it's like.
This is my challenge to you, Mike. He played 25. He averaged over 25 minutes a game in the playoffs, Jack Johnson. Mm-hmm. There's nobody on this roster, even Gabriel Carlson, who you were going to give 25 minutes to in the playoffs. And I don't think there's anybody out there that you could get then you're going to trust 25 playoff minutes, and John Tortorella is going to trust 25 playoff minutes too.
Well, maybe he'll sign Dan Girardi after he gets bought out by the Rangers.
Yeah,
I don't think so. I think John Davis.
I heard somebody mentioned to me today about Mark Stahl being bought up by the Rangers. I was looking into that further, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No, Stahl's younger. I think we looked at the deal. The Girardi deal is way more advantageous to buy out, and he's the guy blocking all the shots. Like, it's obvious who you should buy out.
Yeah.
Well, hey, maybe Tortorella will bring back one of his favorite defensemen, and maybe he'll sign a Michael Del Zotto.
And you're going to give Del Zotto 25 minutes.
Can you imagine Dick? Can you imagine Dan Girardi wanting to play for Tortorella again? I can't see that either.
Yeah, I can't see that either.
But I'm saying there are defensemen who could come in on a 1 or 2 year stopgap situation.
Not for 25 minutes a game. I'm telling you, if you want to be here's the
Russ, thing. You're expecting Seth Jones and Ryan Murray to step up to be that 25-minute guy.
You know what, though? Here's the funny thing. I've got Pierre-Luc Dubois coming in. I can replace Brandon Saad's 50 points quicker than I can replace those 25 minutes on the blue line right now.
I mean, I know it is. To me, I would rather give up 1 year of Jack Johnson than.
I know, but again, we don't know what the long-term deal is. They may already be talking to Jack Johnson beyond this year. We don't know. They could be.
They could. Yes.
Yeah, we'll try to find out some more for you guys. But
I never thought I could get so heated talking about the Columbus Blue Jackets, but I did.
They have 5 defensemen who played more than 60 games that could possibly be exposed. I mean, that's I don't think many teams in the NHL have that.
No.
So they really have.
And for them, it's a key because in the division that they sit in the kind of team that they are. If they lose, this is almost like Florida. Like, if you lose one of those top 4, good luck replacing that.
Well, and here's the thing, and we're not factoring him in the conversation here because he's exempt. If they lose Jack Johnson, your top 4 is Seth Jones, Murray, Savard, and Zach Werenski. Not a big drop off. Not a big drop off. No, but you need more than 4. You do. I know you need more than 4, but I'm just saying. I think it's easier for them to fill in your 5, 6 for a year or two as a guy like Carlson gains experience, maybe plays in the American Hockey League next year, rather than keeping Jack Johnson, hoping that he re-signs, and losing one of your most talented forwards offensively. You ask John Tortorella that, I bet you he would say it's easy to replace the forward. You ask John Tortorella that. Right.
Yeah. All right. Russ, what do you have for us as far as draft players go?
All right. So we're talking Owen Tippett, a really great right winger. He's a 6'2", 203. So he's like your prototypical right winger. Like, anything you want in a right winger, I think you have in this guy. He's got a great shot. He's a guy that's good at deflections. I think we've seen that over the years, and I'll name you some guys that are good at deflections. They're not all wingers, but Justin Williams is great at deflections. Mike Richards was great at deflections. There are some guys that if you can do that, like the other day, who wasn't great at a deflection? I forgot who missed that deflection. Right in front of the net. There was a player that missed one. I can't remember. But it's a big deal in the NHL. And if you have that as a skill, it's something that can move forward. He's a smooth skater. He's a guy that can go around players even at that size. He has the speed to do it. He could snipe the small areas, which in the NHL, that's a lot of times that's what you're going to have to do. And he's a tough guy who could take a hit too. And so, like, he's not a guy that you're going to be able to push off the puck. He is your power forward type, but with a fair amount of finesse.
And it's funny because I saw him play. I think it was in December up in Toronto because he played for Mississauga. And I was keeping an eye on him and on Nicholas Hague, who's one of their defensive prospects, who's going to be a first-round pick in this draft. I was completely unimpressed with Tippett, and then I looked at the score sheet at the end of the game, and I think he had a goal and 2 assists. It was like one of those things, like even when he played badly or he didn't make it that much of an impression, he had scored points. Now, I don't know whether he can carry that off in the NHL. That's something where his talent just carries him over. But, I mean, he has the physical package. He does have the shot. It was one game, so I can't make a judgment on him, but I didn't think he had as much speed as a lot of people thought he did.
I think it's not like he has blazing speed, Mike, but he could get around defenders with that extra gear when he has to, and I think that's the key because he doesn't have that flat track speed. No, he doesn't. Yeah. And right now I've got him currently ranked 11th. He's going to pretty much stay there for me. I could tell people that I don't think there's going to be any movement on my list for Owen Tippett, but the idea is if you're down somewhere between 10 and 13 and you're drafting, everybody wants a power forward, man. Yeah. Everybody does.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal.
No, that's true. That's true. Wow, that's a good one to watch. I love it. Let's go to the rumor chart today. Pick 3 interesting players. I was going to pick 3 others, but we talked another one, but we actually just talked about Delzato a little bit, so I thought I would put him on here. All right, so Delzato was told at the end of the year by the Flyers he definitely wasn't coming back.
Was not
coming back. Nick Schultz.
No, we knew that. We
alerted that. Yeah. And I respect teams when they do that, ahead of time like that sometimes, because it really does give the player a lot more time to figure out what the heck to do. So the team I've heard most connected with him is Colorado, and that they really need something in a big way. So I do like that.
Here's what I like for Colorado. What people forget about what Delzato is, he's really not an offensive defenseman anymore. He's a guy who still has a good shot and will give you offense, but he is a really good skater. He has cut down on his turnovers, but he's very physical. And that's something that Colorado needs. They need a hit maker, and Delzato creates hits. He does.
Good transitional defenseman, too. Like, he's very good. I mean, he might not be as offensive, but he's very good at the first pass out of the zone type of play.
Yes.
That's his game.
The 2 of the teams on your list are teams that are desperate to add multiple defensemen in Buffalo and Colorado. So, I mean, I don't think Delzato can really go out there and ask for, $3.5 million based on what he's done the last couple of years. I mean, I think he's going to, get a couple of years and maybe $2.5 to $3 million at most. And that would be cost effective for a team like Colorado, who doesn't like to spend money, and Buffalo, who has got a lot of bad contracts. So I think that those are reasonable destinations. And, I think those teams are so desperate for blue line that I think.
Yeah, but here's where Buffalo loses again, Mike. I'm sorry. Where Buffalo loses again in this one is Michael Delzato is a DJ. I don't know what the clubs are like in Colorado. I know that there's amazing clubs in Vegas, and so I have to think that this is going to come into the fray if Vegas has some interest in them. Buffalo has no clubs. There's no fun there. We know that.
Delzato was actually maybe the most popular Flyer in the locker room last year too.
Yeah.
Like, he's a really loved guy by his teammates. He's had a little bit of a checkered past as far as people.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
It feels like he grew out of it. It feels like he really it does seem completely different now. And he was very humble. I found him to be pretty humble this year in general. Like he's become more humble as time's gone on, I feel. Next is Radulov, and Radulov. Now, of course, Radulov is still, everyone assumes, is going to be a Canadian, and that the Canadians will sign him. But there's a group in there that's not as thrilled about it, and it's a small group. I would say maybe 20 or 30% of people within the Montreal Canadian sphere of influence or what have you that aren't 100% sold. And then there's the other aspect of Radulov, which is he has always gone for the money. And that's the key here, Rick, because there was speculation about him looking for like a max deal, like a 6 or 7 year deal. And he's 31 years old. He had a great year, and I'm sure Montreal wants to sign him. But if he's going to stick to his guns in terms of wanting, long-term money, $5.75, $6 million a year, go screw. I think that's ridiculous. They'll give him a good deal, and I think he deserves that. But at 31, that's really risky, and I don't think they're going to do that. So that's where I think there's the other opportunity. Maybe Vegas, and I'm sure there are other teams out there, but I don't think anybody in the NHL with his history is giving Alex Radulov a 6 or 7 year contract. There's just
Nobody
no.
is.
And there's something else that bothers me about this. Because I've heard Vegas's name mentioned a lot with him. Almost too much, as if they're negotiating, because when I sit back and I look at it, who's Radulov's least favorite person in the world, or the the smallest fan of Radulov probably that's in the NHL would be David Poile, right? Absolutely the whole Nashville situation. Radulov was a mess, and twice was a mess, and and Poile and McPhee definitely talk a lot. So I have a really hard time kind of imagining that McPhee would be the kind of guy who would go for him, but we'll see.
Radulov had a really great year, and I don't think Montreal could afford to lose him.
No, they really can't. They're really in a pickle with this one. So they're trying everything they can to make it. The next player is Jonas Brodin, who a lot of people think could be moved because of the expansion draft and because of what could happen there.
Well, Minnesota, and we'll talk about Minnesota probably in a couple of weeks when we get to them for the expansion thing. But a lot of the talk about Minnesota is getting rid of Dumba instead of getting rid of Brodin. And
I don't think that's happening. That would be dumb.
Dumba, I really don't think it's happening either. I think that Dumba is way too important for them.
His offense was way too important for them this year.
Yeah.
Now, Brodin is more of a, and I'm not saying stay at home in terms of being a guy who can't skate, because he can skate, but he's more of a defensively minded defenseman. He's a right hand shot. I think you've got 3-4 teams on the list there. I think you could add those teams that need defense, like Toronto, like Buffalo. I definitely think that if he's available, that Lou Lamoriello will be putting in a call to Chuck Fletcher, because Brodin's the type of defenseman that they need. I don't know about LA though, because where's LA? The one thing is that Brodin signed long term, and I think he's making like $4.1 million. But LA is so cap strapped right now. We have to see what Rob Blake's going to do if he buys out guys like Dustin Brown.
I think that could happen. I think it
could happen too. Here's
Blake going to be very aggressive.
Yeah, here's an interesting thing. So, Dumba was the third highest scoring defenseman on Minnesota, 4 points behind Spurgeon, 11 goals. He is a goal maker. He could get more than 11 goals with his shot, and he's physical. I think Brodin is the guy that goes. I think that's correct. I think the problem is that they have to pretty much get somebody with the same salary or less coming back, because they're a cap-strapped team.
Right.
JVR.
Yeah.
JVR could be a good swap for that.
Yeah, and and it's only 1 year left in the contract, whereas Brodin's, I think, got 3 or 4 years. That's been one of my scenarios. The Leafs are looking for long-term to address their defense. They're going very Swedish lately. Yeah. With a lot of their, with Nylander, with a lot of their prospects. Brodin would make a whole bunch of sense.
The only way I think Vegas gets them is if they get somebody who's worth flipping for Brodin. But the problem is they're going to want to move Brodin before the expansion draft.
Yes.
Right.
So why would he? What does Vegas have to offer? They're not going to give a first round pick for him.
No, it would be one of those deals, Russ, where they're claiming somebody from another team to trade. And I would find it very unusual that if there was a deal between Vegas and Minnesota, it wouldn't involve somebody from Vegas like Zucker, because Zucker is that would be the poster child for that franchise. He's from Vegas and he's a good NHL player. They would want that to promote that franchise.
And here's the problem: even though the Red Wings have a new building, they're no longer a destination team. I don't know if there's anybody on Detroit short of Dylan Larkin, maybe Athanasu, that Minnesota would even accept back for Brodin.
Anthony Mantha.
Yeah, maybe Mantha.
Because I think that they're not a destination team. I think they are still a destination.
They're not. No, I think that's all smoke and mirrors now. I think that's the old Red Wings. I don't think who's going to – if you're a free agent, why are you going to sign with Detroit?
Right. That's why as much as Vegas might be a decoy for Radulov, when we talked about yesterday, we had Joe Thornton. Detroit is a decoy for Joe Thornton. There is no way that Joe Thornton is going to Detroit over going back to San Jose unless San Jose is not offering him anything.
Yeah, that Joe Thornton's a totally different kind of situation.
I know.
Because to me, Thornton is a case of if Thornton calls Detroit up and says, I really want to play there and I'll do it for this, that's the situation they have with Detroit.
Zetterberg might push for Brodin, but again, I just don't know unless they give up Anthony Mantha, and then how is Detroit going to replace those points? They don't have a lot to deal.
Unless they think Svechnikov is ready.
Yeah, but even Svechnikov being ready is nowhere near the point producer that that Mantha's going to be. His brother's going to be a way better point producer than him. Yes.
I mean, more than in the dream scenario of all dream scenarios, when it comes to the Detroit Red Wings, Ken Holland is praying that Gustav Nyquist, that guys like Tatar, that they had sophomore slumps. I know with Nyquist especially that he had a sophomore slump, and then he comes back and he plays like he did 2 years ago. And if he does that, then along with Zetterberg, along with Dylan Larkin had a sophomore slump. Bring those guys. If they play up to their potential, then we're back in it. I don't think so.
It is a pipe dream right now.
It's a
it definitely is a pipe dream. But I don't know. I mean,
and then their defense is hideous.
But here's the thing, Ek. Let's be realistic. What does Ken Holland have left on his deal? 1 more year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike Ilitch is gone. I see Ken Holland leaving the Red Wings after this year. I do.
Well, and I'll just bring this up because it was discussed in regards to the Kyle Dubas story from a couple days ago. Because Kyle Dubas, if he leaves Toronto, the perception is because he sees his road to being the Leafs general manager as being impeded, not only by Lou Lamoriello wanting to stick around, but also by Mark Hunter. But there's been a recurrent rumor over the last 4 to 6 months. I know that Kevin McGran from the Toronto Star wrote about it, that Ken Holland's contract is up at the end of next year, just at the same time that Lamoriello's contract is up. And he is best buddies with Mike Babcock.
Yeah.
And put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, I could totally see that happening. Great talent evaluator. We're trying to build a dynasty here. Like, I just see the strip mining continuing with Detroit, and it's going to get tougher for them before it gets better.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree it's going to get tougher before it gets better. I definitely, that part I agree with. I don't know. There's a lot of it, though, that I'm not. I mean, I think that they have they're a little bit further along in this than you guys do. But that's just, we've had this discussion before.
Well, tell me who the goalie is. Tell me who their number 1 defenseman is. Tell me. There's a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, they don't have. I think Mrazek is their goalie. Okay, but I think.
But he's got some issues.
Oh, he's got issues for sure. But most, he's not. They don't have a bona fide.
They thought that Mrazek was their number 1 goaltender, and then in the most not most important because it was just a spectacle, but in the Centennial Classic, Russ, they started Jared Careau.
I know.
A 25-year-old marginal prospect who all of a sudden started playing well.
No, so I know. They had lots of injury issues this year too.
And there's a lot of talk about Jimmy Howard being moved and them eating salary to get him out of Detroit because he's not the number 1. He never has been a number 1 in the NHL, at least to my estimation.
Yeah, I want to get a restaurant. I want to go to the restaurant where you can eat salary. That would be a fun place to go. I think that would be a good one. Something really fun, but since today's theme is Del Zotto, I posted this on my blog last week. I think this is one of the most coolest things I've ever seen. This is a video from YouTube, and it's really short. I'll just play it for you guys, and we'll go out on this. It's just this is a tournament from 2000, where I think it was Team Ontario versus Team Vancouver. And in this clip, you get to see Martin Jones, Pietrangelo, Stamkos, Eberle, Del Zotto, and Hamonic are all playing in this as in 2000. So they're kids, they're
9 years old, probably.
9 years old, right? So this is great. I'll show you. I'm gonna bring it up here. And I think you guys will love this. This is one of my favorite things I've ever seen. And just because it's really just one of these, you don't get to see this very often. Here we go. So I'm going to turn the volume up and we'll play it here. Watch this.
Long shift for this McRae, Del Zotto, Robertson line. McRae and Del Zotto are still out there. Del Zotto with the high shot. Now Toronto will change on the fly as Pietrangelo comes back. Fires one off the ankle of Hamonic. And he built that one.
Hamonic.
That's swept away into the corner. Kuzneric goes after for Toronto. Over on the far side to number 8, Anthony Nigro. Nigro can't control it. Steve Stamkos bangs it back in, and Nigro with it. Nigro with the long shot from a bad angle.
So far, Nigro looks better than Stamkos. Where's he?
Once again, Eberle with it. Eberle to Johnson. Eberle skated off into the corner.
Back then, Eberle was turning over the puck.
There's Stamkos.
There's Stamkos. All right.
The shot by Stamkos. It was high, but you got impressed with the ground hand.
No finish.
Martin Jones. How about that? I don't know.
Yeah, you can't beat Martin Jones and that Stamkos guy if he could only shoot it on net.
Yeah, he's got no finish at all.
That's the last time Stamkos came back in his own zone to steal the puck from somebody too.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, no, but that was just I think that is so. I mean, I love that kind of stuff. What's so cool is you really don't. I think about 10 years ago when everybody started getting camera phones, right? So you're going to see this more and more in the future because everything's being videotaped now by teams. But there's nothing. I don't think there's one video of me playing any sport at all as a child. There's nothing at all, right? Or the only video I have of me playing goal is just I have me stoning Dustin Leeds in the shootout. So I've got that. But besides that, I don't have anything else. So
and that was shaky.
No video of the street hockey with Casper recapping it.
Nope, no video of that. I was stupid not to videotape that.
All
right, that's all the time we have for today, guys. Enjoy the Game 7 tonight. We'll see what tomorrow. We'll talk about the final. We'll find out what's going on. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We will talk to you soon.